Okay, so I accidentally stopped my video. We just looked at those Culliner sweet gums down the path there. The tree that I really wanted to stop and look at is this guy here, multi-trunk. First one to leaf out. You can see it's already out. Now again, we can look at that leaf arrangement. So I'm sure my my educator is already saying maple. So this is another maple, and this is the Amur maple. Just a really great small tree, about 20-25 feet tall and wide. Again, multi-trunk, which is great to use. It kind of breaks up that landscape when you use a multi-trunk tree along with all these other common ones. And this is a redbud. It's kind of taking its time to bloom. That's okay, he'll catch up. And then another one, it's probably something that didn't make it there, as I wanted to point out this guy here. Now, this is our crab apple. It's just looking great. This is, great food for the birds. And then awesome flowers. Just a great choice for this area. And purple leaf plum. And then they've broken up with some evergreens too. Just a nice variety here. This is just south of Lowe's on Bryant. And then there's a white redbud down the road as well. Okay, so we'll hop back on the bike and then continue on to Hafer. Just wanted to quickly point out this magnolia, southern magnolia. It's likely the teddy bear variety. It's a bit more compact and not as broad as what you would typically expect from a magnolia, but another good specimen. So hopefully you can hear me. I have a weird holder on my phone on the bike, but I wanted to talk a little bit about invasive plants and privet. So this one, the light green, now I'll stop and look a little closer, but just to give you an idea how things can kind of go from bad to worse. So this thicket that we're passing here has a little bit of privet, and then you turn the corner and then all of a sudden it is everywhere. And I'm sorry if the camera's bouncing around too much. I'll stop in just a minute. So this is one of those weird plants where the common name sounds like it could be a botanical name, but this is privet. It's Ligustrum chinensis, and as you can see, it is everywhere. Now, people planted it because it's very fragrant. You see that it's already fruiting, and it has these little white flowers. They're not really conspicuous, but again, they can be a problem. You can see how they've taken over, even way back there, this entire area. And again, it does get worse down the trail. So just a terrible plant that was introduced. And it really is everywhere. So you got to kind of think about what plants would be here in its place. Would it be, oaks or sumacs, or plants that would be benefiting wildlife. And even just to make it worse, we have this vine, which I don't see any of the, but this is a Japanese honeysuckle. It's also another bad choice, Lansera japonica. In Oklahoma, it does have a native variety, coral honeysuckle, which is definitely a better choice than this Japanese variety. So I wanted to stop, give a shout out to sumac here, Roos. There's a lot of different species in Oklahoma that are winged and smooth sumac. There's a nice little thicket here, and that's because they spread through underground rhizomes, and then they'll pop up next to them. So this is a great plant if you have somewhere where your soil is eroding and you want to hold on to that soil. You could plant this. There's a ornamental variety called Tiger Eye. It's more compact and it has light lime green foliage, which I wouldn't mind having in my garden. And the deer eat the berries, so does the birds. So another good native plant contributing to wildlife. So I didn't get very far till I noticed these things blooming. And a good giveaway is this shiny, smooth bark. This is Mexican sand plum. And like our ornamental plums, the bark's very similar. You can see these white lenticels through. But let's see if they... Not much fragrance, but and they do produce an edible plum. A lot of people use it for jams. This is a nice little patch here. So I mentioned this guy earlier over by the Southern Catalpa. I don't know if that was I think that was the part 1 video before I shut it off, but another probably panicle golden ray tree. You can see obviously a volunteer in this area. People plant them because their fruit turns bright yellow, and it really does look like a showering gold. The problem though is their seed is super viable, so it gets everywhere. And they also bring in the box elder bugs, which once you have them is hard to get rid of. But fast-growing trees, which people gravitate towards, like calorie pears and silver maple. But anytime you hear fast-growing trees, just automatically think really weak wood. So this is one of those trees that are not going to live long, are going to be damaged in wind and ice storms. So a lot of better choices out there. So I'm a big fan of this stuff. I wanted to stop and point it out. This is lichen, and it's not a plant. It's actually a symbiotic relationship between fungi and algae. So the fungus provides a structure for the algae to grow on, and then the algae photosynthesizes and gives sugars to the fungi. Now how they reproduce is they'll break off. The algae will break off and float away. And usually the fungi will produce spores of these little structures on the edge of the lichen here. Sometimes they'll produce little cups. But there's a lot of different varieties. But just cool stuff. It also aids into how much CO2 a tree will sequester. So it won't kill a tree. That's a misconception. So when you see a tree covered in lichen, it's doing us a big benefit in fact of capturing more CO2.